So can you believe that there can be some managers, I'm not saying all of them are like that, that are so autocratic that just, I don't want to say almost throw their weight around.
If you could rebuild the mining industry from scratch, what would you change first?
So I would change, I think the first thing I would change in the mining industry is the structure, the management structure. I would definitely put in a flatter structure, as flat as possible, and give as much autonomy as possible to the managers at the various levels. Because the problem you have at the moment, and what I've experienced just about every operation I've been to, is that you will have one person right at the top, the big boss, that makes all of the decisions. So all of the managers below need to sort of prepare their stories and sell their points across, etc. But they don't have any power, any autonomy to make a decision themselves and implement it. Everything, and you can imagine some of these mining companies are huge. They're ginormous. So there's thousands of people working there. And if you think that every decision in metallurgy has to filter all the way up to the boss, and you can imagine the broken telephone and doing that with you explaining this to your boss, and then he has to explain it to his boss. By the time it gets 4 or 5 levels up, it's all diluted and people have lost the plot. And often then nothing happens, nothing gets done. And I've had and of course this destroys the morale, because now you have very highly qualified people, some of them may even have PhDs, that are working in this organization, and they can't make any decisions actually. They can run the operation, execute things, but they can't actually make any decision on anything. That's really destroys morale. That does destroy.
It can be frustrating, very
frustrating for people that work.
Happens.
Yeah. And often that leads to the staff turnover, because people think, look, I didn't study all those years just to do this. And you want to be guided, of course. You need to be guided with your decisions, but at least be in a position where you can make a decision. And I've had the real experience of this, and it was actually quite an amusing experience where I had a metallurgist. It was we in South Africa, so it was a local operation, and the metallurgist got hold of me, and he was really, really desperate, in dire straits with a problem on his plant. And through our discussions, we realized that I actually did have a MACH reactor that was fully assembled at the factory and tested, ready to rock and roll, that could potentially solve his problem. And when he realized that, he said, look, even if it's tomorrow morning, can I get this thing on site? I need to get it installed. I need to fix my plant. And of course, we did that. We were always keen to keep our clients happy and future clients happy. So we got that MACH reactor to site, got it delivered. It then stood there for a week. You can imagine, we were told it was urgent, hence, we got it basically overnight, we got it there. And then when I went to visit the plant to find out what was going on, and I had a meeting with this metallurgist that had requested it, the big boss of the plant, let's call him that, he happened to be there. And I overheard this conversation they were having that I was probably not meant to hear. And it wasn't that it was a bad idea. It wasn't that he thought that the MACH would not work. But all he said to his subordinate is, I'm the only one on this plant who is allowed to bring new technology in.
Yep.
And based on that, I had to remove the MACH reactor off that plant, take it back to the factory. I've never heard from that client again. So can you believe that there can be some managers, I'm not saying all of them are like that are so autocratic that just, I don't want to say almost throw their weight around to that extent, where they have highly qualified thinking individuals working for them, ready with solutions to problems that they're not even willing to look at, because they feel that they're the boss and they're the ones who are supposed to be bringing those solutions to the table. So it's just the autocratic nature of mining. It's that culture of mining where you do as you're told. It's almost like army style. You just follow orders. You don't make any decisions for yourself. There may be situations in the industry when you need that type of management, but I think on the whole, if you have people there that are well qualified, that are trained to think, you've got to really allow them to do their jobs so that you can do your job in a better way. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, It's like them having control is more important than their company actually thriving.
Precisely. As long as they can prove that they're the boss and reinstate that they're the ones who actually make the decisions, they don't actually really care what happens. So that problem probably was left unsolved for I don't know how many more months, and nobody really cared. So when you have these metallurgical operations that are finding it difficult to survive these days, it's almost like, I think to myself, it's a fate of their own doing. Because they could have been looking at solutions years ago already. They could have perfected solutions for their plant, but they're just sticking to the status quo. They have managers who dictate what needs to be done.
Sure.
For more information on the MACH, gold ore, and how we are challenging and changing the world, please visit www